Hello everybody, Parent Elite 25 here, and welcome back to World of Tanks, and my very first tank review. And I spent a lot of time asking myself, well, if you're going to do a tank review, what's going to be the first tank you do out of the 77 in your garage? It's like, well, I settled on the Matilda, as you can see, and I settled on the Matilda because it's kind of a unique tank for me in that it was one of the very first tanks in the game where I actually could say I truly enjoyed myself driving this machine, I guess you could say. And it's probably it's probably actually the very first tank I kept in my garage and actually applied camo to and decided, I'm keeping this tank for forever, basically. And honestly, I do love this tank. It's slow, yes, but it performs extremely well, especially in Tier 4, where I may even say that it might be a little bit overpowered in some aspects, especially in terms of its armor. Um, but yeah, let's do a quick view of this tank. So, the Matilda, British Tier 4 medium tank. Uh, let's go into the tech tree. And you'll see, right off the bat, right here, the Matilda at Tier 4. You go through the Medium 1 at Tier 1, the Medium 2 at Tier 2, the Medium 3 at Tier 3, and then suddenly you have the Matilda. Now that is a huge, and you'll notice this when you grind your way up to the Matilda. For one, it's not a long grind to get there, of course, but as with most tanks in the game, where let's say the Churchill is a good trainer to train up to the Churchill 7. The Black Prince is a good trainer to train up to the Carnarvon. You know, things like that. That's how things typically seem to go in this game. The Sherman 3 is a pretty good trainer up to the Firefly. But when it comes to these two, the Matilda is kind of interesting in that perspective because playing the Medium 3 and then getting to the Matilda, that's like night and day right there because they are so different in almost every aspect you could possibly think of. Armor, firepower, rate of fire, I mean, it's just, the list goes on about how different they are. So your playstyle from the Medium 3 definitely should not be the same as you would take with the Matilda because it just won't transfer over very well at all. So the Matilda is pretty unique in that aspect. Going back to the tank itself, let's go into some details. So, we're going to start with the engine. That's the first thing that's in line anyways. And this is the fully upgraded engine, I might add. I'm not going to go through the other engines because this is the tank fully at its fullest potential, I might say. And that's how I'm going to review it. So, 190 horsepower. That's 7.06 horsepower per ton. That's not very good at all. You'll get 24 kph out of this engine, and that might be even going downhill, to be honest. 24 kph, you're gonna reach that, but it's not gonna reach it very quickly, and you're definitely going to struggle going up hills. I try not to take this thing up hills if I can help it, but sometimes you don't really have much of a choice in the matter, so sometimes you gotta bite the bullet on that. 11 kph backwards, you're going backwards. 50% chance. That's kind of high, to be honest, because I think the highest you can have is 20% for fire chance, and that engine is pretty big. But to be honest, out of all the games I've played, and I think I've had almost 500 games in this thing, I don't think I've ever had barely a single fire on this tank. The gun, 2-pounder Mark 10B. 2.10 rounds a second, reload time, aiming time 1.9 seconds. That's extremely well. This gun will aim as fast as it fires, which is a very good combination. because as soon as it's done aiming, you're done reloading and you fire. Accuracy at 100 meters is 0.36. That is pretty good. Although I've had the occasional troll where my shot will just go way outside of the circle and completely miss my target. This maximum range 720, not bad. Max elevation 20 degrees on your elevation, 10 degrees on your maximum depression, which is not bad. I've never really had any problems, I can say, with the gun handling on this tank, be it up or down. Uh, it's a good gun all around, and like we said, very fast, very accurate, very punchy, as we'll see when we get to the ammunition. The tracks, 36 degrees of rotation. Your terrain resistance 0.9, 1.2, and 2.1. I wouldn't take this tank in a swampy or a marshy area. It's not going to perform that well since it already has a poor horsepower per turn ratio. You're not going to be able to maneuver very well in environments like that, so I would try to steer clear of stuff like that unless you get outflanked and, completely wrecked from behind. The turret, Matilda Mark II-A, view range 340, which is, not too bad. Rotation speed 34 degrees per second. I've never really had trouble tracking targets that try to get around me unless they're the really fast, Panzer IIs and such. But which in that case, if tanks like that outflank you, your armor is going to be pretty well to handle those kind of tanks, and we'll get to that in a second. Radio signal range, 400 meters, and the radio is right there in the back of the turret, so if you ever want to know how to knock out the radio on one of these things, just aim for the back of the turret, and if you've got the penetration for it, you'll knock out that radio pretty easily. Ammunition, standard. You've got 91 to 151 millimeters of penetration, which are standard armor piercing, with 41 to 69 damage. The damage isn't great, but with as fast as this gun fires, that damage is going to stack up over time, especially if you're penetrating every shot you fire. Shell velocity is the same for both shells, so we'll go right on to the premium ammunition. At 109 to 181 millimeters of penetration, that's pretty good for the same amount of damage. Very rarely have I had to load the gold in this gun. The only time I've had to do that is when you come across, tier 6s, because this thing is going to see tier 6. And the two ammunition stowage compartments are right there in the bottom of the hull in the center. Those are hard to hit, to be honest, because you've got to go through, especially if you're aiming from the side, which most will probably be aiming. You've got to go through the side skirts, the tracks, the inner hull, just to get to the ammo rack, and that's going to be kind of difficult unless you're in, a good tier 5 or a tier 6. Crew, I'm going to get to that on another screen. Let's see. Let's go into. Oh, I completely forgot about the armor. I'm sorry. So the armor, 1 to 20 millimeters. That is your tracks, your upper your upper deck, and the top of your turret, and your gun itself, and the lower part of your hull, apparently. But yeah. 21 to 30 millimeters of armor. You're basically looking at your side skirts here, your turret ring, and that little sliver right above your gun mantlet. 31 to 50 millimeters, you're looking at your upper glacis on that pike nose and the lower glacis as well, which are both very well sloped. So, yeah. As well as your inner hull right behind the tracks are about 31 to 50. That spot right behind your driver's viewport is also 31 to 50, and parts of your gun mantlet are 31 to 50 as well. 51 to 70, more of your gun mantlet, mainly the more forward-facing plates. The sides of your hull here, which are slanted at a slight angle, especially here in the front, where they slope on both sides. And the sides of the pike nose there are 51 to 70, also sloped both ways. And looks like right there, that little port right there is also 51 to 70. And if I'm not mistaken, another part of your turret ring as well, and the back of the hull, which is also slanted at a reverse angle. And for your thickest armor, 71 to 90, which is pretty damn good at tier 4. Basically your entire turret, the rest of your gun mantlet, at its thickest part where the gun actually extrudes from the mantlet itself. The tip of your hull right there on the pike, and the rest of the... I wish I could zoom in a little bit further, but this is console. That's as far as we can get. The rest of your armor right there on the front of the tank. So all around, you are looking at some pretty good armor. The tracks, the side skirts, those can eat shots, especially from lower tiers. And the turret is good enough, that's for sure. And your gun mantlet, I've bounced a lot of shots off that gun mantlet. We're going to go to equipment now. Equipment, I went for ventilation, medium caliber gun rammer, just to get that loading time down just a little bit more, to kind of get it more in sync with the aim time. And I went for coated optics because I did kind of want to go for as much view range as I possibly could on this tank, because I wanted to see threats not before they could see me, but I just wanted to make sure I could see them and be ready for them. And I go for vents on a lot of my medium tanks just to kind of round out all the crew skills. Supplies. You got 40 per each regular AP shell. I carry 67 of those. APCR is of course a little bit more expensive at 1600 credits per shot, and I carry 25 of those. But like I said, I rarely have to dig into this stuff unless you're going to get into a tier 6 game and all of a sudden you're fighting those heavily armed, KV1s at tier 5. Those can give you an issue. I go for my standard loadout of a manual fire extinguisher, a small repair kit, and a small first aid kit. And my crew skills, as of now, let me go back in there and actually go to my crew. I've got Mentor, I've got Smooth Ride, I've got Deadeye, I've got Signal Boosting, and I've got Repairs. And right now I am training clutch braking because I'm trying to get the vehicle rotation a bit better, because that is obviously one of the weakest points of this tank. With its narrow tracks, it's not going to turn very well. So I would say clutch braking is a good one to go for. Another really good one is repairs such as track mechanic and stuff like that, because you're going to want to spend the least amount of time tracked as you possibly can. Because if artillery sees you and you're not in an artillery safe position, as soon as they see you, they're going to rain hellfire down upon you, and the least time you can spend tracked, the better. Which, as soon as I'm done with clutch braking, that's definitely what I'm going to be going for. I went for Mentor first. This was one of my very first well-trained crews, and this crew has been on this Matilda ever since I had the tank, which is why they've got as many skills as they do. I went for Mentor first because I thought that would really help And I kind of say yay and nay to that, because I kind of saw an increase in how fast I learned these skills, but at the same time, I don't know if it's really worth burning down Mentor in order to get these. I should have probably definitely gone for something like Brothers in Arms first, I would have said. Uh, but anyways, I went for Smooth Ride after that. Uh, just firing on the move in this thing is... It helps out a lot, I would say, because I don't like to spend a lot of time stationary in this vehicle just because of how slow it is and how slow you're gonna accelerate. So the more time you spend mobile, the better you're probably gonna be. So firing on the move is something you're probably gonna have to do in this tank, and Smooth Ride is definitely gonna help with that. Deadeye, to be honest, I don't know why I actually went with Deadeye. I guess when I saw the... When you see how many shells you pump out in this tank, the more shells you put down range, the more shots that you penetrate, the more Deadeye might actually help you, because you're gonna knock out their crew and knock out their modules. You have more of a chance to actually inflict serious damage upon their vehicle. Even if you don't do that much damage to them, you'll knock out their crew, which will make things more of a hell for them. Signal boosting, of course. Like I said, I went for view and signal range on this tank first. I don't know if this actually truly helped, but yeah, it's on there nonetheless. And then I went for repairs, and these repairs are going to help out more once I get track mechanic trained on this, and you know, other perks like that. So that's the crew, and let's see if I'm missing anything. No, I'm not sure I am. Like I said, this is my first, so better this as time goes on. So if that's all for right now, we're going to take this into a game, and I'll show you how it handles. Hopefully we can do well. I don't know. We'll see. Hey LeBron, yes. Kind of figures I'm going to get into a map with a lot of hills. Something this tank doesn't do well on. For best results, I might try to go to the city in this match. Because like I said, I don't like to take this tank around hills. Looks like we're in a tier 5 game, so it's not too terrible, I guess. T14, a Churchill 3, that can be trouble. KV220, that can be some trouble. KV1, yeah. Rippers, yeah. Yeah, let's go to the city. And I'm on a slight downhill slope, so I hit that 25, 24, actually 26, 27, 28, 29 kph pretty well. I'll slow right back down to 24 as soon as I'm on level ground here. Looks like the team is splitting up relatively well. I kind of hope someone goes more towards the right flank. And looks like I'm going to have some company, and our PZ-1C has successfully committed suicide. Great. And as you can see, going uphill, I've already slowed down to 6 kph. So yeah, going up hills in this thing is an absolute killer. But surprisingly, kind of picked speed back up quite well there. But this thing is still so slow at getting into its... whatever spot you're trying to get it into, it's going to take a while for you to get there most likely. So you gotta be patient with it. And we've lost an experimental. That's not good. We've also lost a 39. Oh, look, a Panzer 4A. And looks like my team's going to take care of him before I can actually get there. Yep. We've got a friendly Churchill 3 in front of us. Hopefully that'll give us some help. Keep an eye on my right here, because I'm not particularly liking the way how that's looking over there. Actually, we're going to take a right over here. Looks like my team has spotted a tank destroyer down there, but I've kind of committed to the turn now, so... Whoa, and we've got a T-67 here. Hit his tracks. Did some damage. Derped. Oh boy. I want to try to get into some cover on my right flank here because I'm afraid someone might have some flanking shots into me on that right side. Try to make sure we know what the 67 right here is doing. I don't know if he's still here. Is he going to come around? Okay, he must have turned somewhere else. Wait a second. What was that? Is that the same one? Okay, no, they have two 67s. So we're going to continue down this way and see where that other one might have went to. He's very fast. He could have gone anywhere by now. Oh. Yeah. I kind of rushed that shot. This gun is accurate, but if you rush shots like that, more than likely you're going to miss, especially at that kind of a range. And he's on the other side of the hill there. Nah, I'm not going to chance that shot, and I can't go any further this way, so let's turn. Oh, there's the other gun. I auto-aimed that and completely missed. This thing's not going to corner particularly well, so be aware of that if you're trying to take sharp corners. And it seems the city is secure, but we've definitely lost that field. So I'm going to try to head back to base and see if we can't do something to help over there. There goes our artillery to that tank destroyer. And there they are, they're going to cap us. But I'm getting there as fast as I possibly can. But, yep, just like I kind of figured, they kept their heavies in the field. And now I'm kind of caught here against some pretty heavily armored targets. Yeah, and this KV-1 is going to try to have me for lunch. He can pin his lower plate, but once this guy tries to face hug me, that's going to be a problem. Try to keep my heaviest armor pointed towards him, but yeah, it's a KV-220 and I had a KV-1 also firing at me. So you can see the limitations of this tank, especially if you're in a tier 5 and you get into a situation like that where you've got multiple tier 5s engaging you and you've got no backup. Let's see what the rest of our team's doing. Panzer 4H, he's capping, he's got the derp gun. The Churchill 3, he's going to take forever to get there, and he's got the 67 flanking him. We're probably stick with this battle since I want to do another match with the Matilda to try to show you some more of what it can and can't do, because that wasn't particularly well. This match is probably going to be over soon regardless. Churchill's 3 has got himself backed up onto a rock. And his track is blown off, and he's gone. Panzer 4H misses with the dirt gun. But he didn't miss by much. Which I said in my garage review. The dirt gun's not so terrible on German vehicles, especially tanks like the Panzer 4H. Yeah, he's gonna have to get out that cap because they're gonna cap us out anyways. It will be interesting to see if he can actually somehow get back there in time, but there's no way. He's too far. Oh, but he's going for artillery. Nice. And they win by cap. But that was a good fight.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah, I didn't do particularly well there. That's kind of my bad. Maybe I should have gone to the valley, but like I said, taking that thing into the field, I don't like doing that. So we did win the city, but we didn't win the field, and they won by cap. So let's go into another battle. And looks like we're going to steps. Another open field map. Not so hilly though, so maybe that'll work a little bit better for us. And I do particularly like this map. Particularly play it in lower tiers though, especially being in tier 4. And we're in another tier 5. So they've got a BDR, TV1. That T1 heavy one will probably be one of the tougher targets on Matilda. So what we can do.
We've got enemies incoming. Better take them out or capture their base. Let's go.
Kind of gonna sit back here for a second and see how the team disperses. I usually go for the right flank on this map